coming to FX. Actually, that is our next series that starts next week, When Life Crumbles. I'm super excited about this series. For those of you who wrestle with anxiety or stress, this is a must attend. My name is Anthony. For those of you who don't know me, we're super excited that you're here today. Just to echo what Justin says, if this is your first time with us, welcome. We're super excited to have you. Just a shout out to those who are watching on live stream and listening on the podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So if you were here last week, Pastor Chris talked about that every once in a while we do these things called one-offs where we're just, listening to what God is saying to us and being able to communicate that to our people here, and this week, something that's been in our hearts to communicate for kind of really sums up really what Justin was talking about. Our team that we have in Sierra Leone right now, Pastor Chris is actually leading a team of about 9 in Sierra Leone, working with one of our partners called Enable the Children. They're an incredible organization out there that just do so much for so many out there, and we are honored to be able to partner alongside them and go out there and serve them. And they checked in with me yesterday and said everything is going well, and some incredible stories are happening. And I love it when people come back from mission trips and they have these experiences that are just that only God could have done. And it's interesting that we call these things mission trips because really, if you think about it, we're all on a mission in life. And arguably, the same mission that team has in Sierra Leone is the same mission that we've been given here, right here in our community, right here in our own backyard. And maybe you're visiting from someplace else or watching at your local church someplace else, and you have been brought here on a mission as well. And, as I was thinking about this mission and people coming together and serving and incredible things happening, I was reminded of the story of this guy, and he may be watching, so I don't want to embarrass him, so we're just going to call him Todd. All right, so Todd showed up a few years ago for the first time, and he just stood at the back of the house. And I went up to him, introduced myself. Hey, my name is Anthony. And he says, hey, my name is Todd, and just so you know, I'm an atheist. That means he doesn't believe in God. And I said, all right, nice to meet you, Todd. Welcome. We're glad you're here. And he said, just so you know, I'm here with my girlfriend, and that's why I'm here. And I said, well, it's very admirable of you. I'm glad you're here. Shook his hand, and then I walked away. And we carried on our merry way. And then the next week he was back. And I said, hey, Todd. And he goes, hey, you remember my name? And I said, well, we had a very memorable meet. You're not an easy guy to forget. And so we talked a little bit. I said, you going to sit down today? He's like, nope, I want to be closer to the donuts. And we chuckled, and I walked away. And then one of the greeters I saw struck up a conversation with him. And this would happen for a couple more weeks. He would come in, and he would stand in the back. His arms would be crossed, and I would touch base with him. I'd be like, hey, Todd, how are you? I'd be like, hey, question. He's like, that message up there that Pastor Chris said, that was good stuff. I still don't believe it, but that was pretty good. And I was like, all right, well, I'll make sure he let him know. And then he'll be like, wow, that band they're actually really good. They're not like a church band, right? Are they really playing? I said, yeah, they're really playing, Todd. And so we'd have these conversations with each other, and finally, about a month in, something incredible happened. He sat down, and he sat down, and I'll never forget the first Sunday he actually knocked his coffee over, and one of our other team members was there to kind of clean it up for him, and he was sitting there for a little while and being able to engage this way. And about a month later, something else incredible happened. He showed up to my dinner group, and in true Todd fashion, he announced, like he did on that first Sunday, just so you know, I'm an atheist. I'm here because my girlfriend told me to. And we welcome him to the group, and we were very excited to have him there in his own particular brand of humor. And this would go on week after week, and he would come in, and we would talk. And like I said, we were glad to have him there. And then one particular Sunday, I remember he came in, and he was all alone. And so I asked him, I said, oh, well, where's your girlfriend? And he said, oh, we broke up. And I said, well, not for nothing. Why'd you continue to come? I mean, we're glad you're here. And he's like, I don't know, there's just something about this place that I like. I said, well, that's awesome. We're glad you're here. And he would continue to come by himself. He would continue to come and sit. Eventually, he would actually go on a missions trip as well. He went to Guatemala 3 years in a row. He would also come to know who Jesus Christ is in this very auditorium, and he would get baptized on this very stage. Yeah. It's an incredible story. Incredible story of how God used and made an impact with those of you here today who are part of a team and who are serving here at Hope Open Grace. It's incredible to see when those who are aligned on this mission come together, incredible things can happen and lives can change. And so that's the word we're talking about today, right? This word mission, right? And we realize that we use this word mission in a lot of contexts. You probably in your own jobs, your companies, whether you know it or not, have a mission statement, right? It's that one statement that we're trying to rally behind all of our employees and all of our staff to kind of, this is our mission, this is where we're going, right? So for fun, I thought we would go through some of the famous companies and their mission statements, right? So like for Facebook, right? Facebook's to give people the power to argue. Just kidding. This is Facebook's actual. To give people the power to share and make the world more open and connected, all right? How about Best Buy, right? To give people the power to try it out before buying it on Amazon. Just kidding. This is their actual one. To unleash the power of our people, learn from challenge and change, and have fun while being the best. That's Best Buy. And last but certainly not least, Kmart, to let people know that, yes, we still exist. It's true, they do. But here's their actual one. We are committed to improving the lives of our customers by providing quality services, products, and solutions that earn their trust and build a lifetime relationships. That's a long one. So anyway, as you can see, everybody has a mission statement, right? This one statement that we're trying to rally our people behind. And maybe you own a business or you operate a franchise or you run your own company and you know how hard it is to get everybody to align under this one vision. And you know, as I was reflecting this week, I was just super encouraged to see that the people that are on our teams here and our leaders and all of those of you who are serving are doing this incredibly well with our mission. And we say it every single week. It's the mission that God gave us, helping people find their way back to God. It's incredible. It's like why my friend Todd was able to come in here and not believe and not want anything to do with God, but yet something was just different. And this is why I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that because this is something that Jesus himself prayed for in the first century church. He prayed for you, believe it or not. He said, when you know, those of you who've walked into this relationship with Jesus, and even those of you who haven't yet, Jesus prayed a prayer for you. And so this particular prayer takes place in one of the Gospels, the Gospel of John, chapter 17. And it's actually a pretty exhaustive prayer of Jesus. It's one of his longest prayers that he's prayed. And here's what he prayed. And I believe this is something that those of you who are on teams and our leaders and those of you who are on our teams right now are doing an incredible job at. Here's what it is. I am praying not only for these disciples, but also for all who will ever believe in me through their message. Okay, so Jesus is saying, I'm praying for these disciples. These disciples are the disciples that are currently with him right now. So Jesus, during the first century, is praying. He's praying with these disciples. He's saying, I'm not praying only for these disciples, but also for all who will ever believe in me. You're the all. That's who he prayed for. All who would ever believe through their message. Now, their message means the people that were with him, the people that he was praying for, these people, those are people like Matthew, those are people like John, those are people like Peter. And they're sitting there listening to Jesus, and they're chronicling Jesus' life, and they're taking the message of Jesus Christ, the Gospels, to the world. And he's saying, I'm praying not only for these disciples that are here listening to this message, but for you all, for the years to come, for all who will ever believe in me because of the message of these people as they take my message to generation and generation. And here's what he prayed specifically. Verse 21. I pray that they will all be one, just as you and I are one, as you are in me, Father, and I am in you. And they may be in us, so that the world will believe you sent me. I have given them the glory you gave me, so they may be one, as we are one. I am in them, and you are in me. May they experience such perfect unity that the world will know that you sent me and that you love them as much as you love me. Okay, let's unpack this tongue twister a little bit, all right? So as we look into this, he's saying, I pray that they are on one mission, that they are one focus, and that they are in a oneness of responsibility. He says, as you are in me, Father, and I am in you. So he says this, Jesus says this because there's a lot of times that Jesus says, I don't do anything without the will of the Father. I don't do anything unless the Father tells me to, right? So he doesn't do anything that he doesn't see the Father do first. He says, what I do is a reflection of what the Father has done. So he says, so that we are one, that the Father and Jesus, the Father and I are one in mission. My prayer is that those who follow me, because Jesus promised he would be with us, right? Even to the end of the age. That those who are in me, that they would be so aligned in me, right? He says, Father, if they get nothing else right, that they will be aligned in one mission, in one vision together. So that, why? Why do we do this? That they would be so in the world that, and they be, I told you it's a tongue twister, and may they be in us, so that the world will believe you sent me. He says that's the result. He says that my prayer is that they are so aligned, that they are so on mission together, that they're on this one mission together, that people will believe who Jesus says he is. And that people will start to believe. Just because they are aligned. Just because they are aligned, because God and Jesus are aligned, and because we are followers of Jesus, that we are aligned on that one mission, that people will start to believe. Basically, if we get this right, people are going to start to believe. People who wanted nothing to do with God are going to start to believe. People who have never set foot in a church will start to believe. People who wanted nothing to do with the scriptures may actually open one. People who didn't believe in God at all will start to believe. When they're exposed to a group of believers who understand this and who get this and who are aligned on one vision, something happens, and as a result, God moves and people will start to believe. Now, here's the truth about this. The opposite is true as well. That as a result of us not being in alignment, not being on the same mission, not being on the same vision, we can cause people to not believe. In other words, the reason you're not a church person is because you've met too many church people. The reason you don't want to read your scriptures is because some of the meanest people you ever met told you to read your scriptures. So when the church doesn't get this right, we can so undermine God. We can so undermine Jesus, that we can so undermine faith that people will want nothing to do with it. Think about it. If we were to put the mission of the church up on this screen, just like we were doing with the funny ones, what would the funny mission be? And maybe it wouldn't be so funny. When you think of the church, when the outside world thinks of the church, do they see a people that are so aligned, that are so on one vision, that so understand the mission of the church of helping people find their way back to him and reaching people for the message of Jesus Christ? Do they see that, or do they see another mission? People don't go to church because they don't know what it is. People go to church because they've been to one. People don't go to church because they've been to one. People don't go to church because they were raised in one. People don't go to church because they've been hurt in one. People don't go to church because they've had a bad experience in one. Because they've realized that when people are not on the same mission, when they're not on the same vision, things don't always go as planned. And he's saying, listen, my prayer, God, is that I don't care if they get anything else right, but if they are aligned in this mission, this mission of helping people find their way back to me, of winning people, of making disciples of Jesus, if they are aligned on this mission, right, things will start to happen. Think about it. When they were in the presence of Jesus, people who didn't believe that Jesus was the Son of God still liked being in the presence of Jesus. There was something about Jesus that people liked, right? And Jesus loved being with people that weren't like him. And that's the power of what this is. And he says, Jesus is saying, God, if they don't get anything else right, if they don't get anything else right, let them be so aligned in this one vision of reaching people, in this one vision of helping people find their way back to God, by helping people understand who Jesus is in their life, help them to be so aligned in this one mission that lives will start to change and people will believe. Here's the phrase: when each part does their part, people become a part. And here's the reason I bring this up today. Those of you who are serving are doing this so well. Those of you who are on a team are doing this so well. Todd's story is a story I hear over and over and over again of other people that are just like Todd, who have walked in here, but for one reason or another, something happened and they experienced God. God softened their heart and they were able to believe. And what does it mean to be on one mission? What does it mean to be all in this together? That means you take your different backgrounds. That means you take all of your skills. That means you take everything that brought you here, that brought you to where you are, and you use that to go onto that one mission of helping people find their way back to him. Let me paint a little picture for you and show you how this is the power of the church that works in a person's life, right? So one person's walking to the PATH train, and team member number one, right? We call them teams here at Hoboken Grace because we realize we're all in this together, okay? So team member number one is handing that person a granola bar, and they get a little card and they put it in their back pocket. And then team member number two invites them to come with them one particular Sunday. And so they decide to, they bring their family, they come through the front doors. Team member number three greets them at the front door. Team member number four shows them to the elevator. Team member number five is in the elevator welcoming the family, bringing them up to Grace Kids. Team member number 6 and 7 are checking in those little kids. Team members number 8 and 9 and 10 are teaching the little kids about Jesus, and they're taking care of Jesus, taking care of the kids so they understand who Jesus is, while mom and dad come down and are able to listen to the message uninterrupted. What am I, number 10, 11? I don't know. Team member number 11, 12, and 13 have already set out all the food and prepared the coffee and prepared the bagels and told them to enjoy as much as they like. Team member number 14 is standing at the door there saying, come on in. You can bring your food. You can bring your coffee. Team member number 15 has already set that chair up. Team member number 16 has already prayed specifically for that chair. Team member number 17 through 21 are up here playing and singing and creating this incredible worship experience so that people can see how awesome our God are and reflect that. Team member number 22 is teaching the message. That's me. I'm team member 22 today. I'm the Emmett Smith, 22. And then in the back over here, you've got team members number 23 through 26 back there at the booth, making sure I sound okay, doing their best to make me look good, but also to be able to take this message that you guys know what I'm saying, and to be able to take this message to those team members number 27 and 28 are over. I don't know, I lost count, but whatever, you get what I'm saying. They're at the camera. They're making sure that we're able to take this message to the world. Team member number 30 is mixing live stream in there so that they're able to take this message to all of the people that are connecting. Maybe you're traveling and you're able to stay connected. Those people that are not part of our family anymore or listening from across seas, they're able to stay connected. Team member number 30 and 31 are out there ready to get them connected into a dinner group, and team number 33 is leading that dinner group. Team member number 34 and 35 is able to show them, when they come up to get baptized. I mean, that's an entire group of people that have come together to change the life of that person, and something has happened. You may not know this person. I mean, you may not remember their name, but that person who has been so impacted by so many different people goes home and for some reason connects with somebody that they've been fighting with for decades and says, I'm sorry. Or maybe they start the road to recovery. Or maybe they heal a broken relationship. Or maybe they take their son out and play for the first time in God knows how long. When the people come, you can literally become the presence, the body of Christ. And when that happens, when Christ was in the body here on earth, people were changed, lives were changed, people were healed. In fact, the early disciples freaked out when Jesus ascended, right? Jesus dies on the cross. They thought all hope was lost. Jesus rises from the dead. They're like, he's back. Thank goodness. And then he goes away again. They're like, wait a minute, where are you going? Who's going to do the teaching, the vision casting, the healing? Who's going to save people? Who's going to lead people? Who's going to do this? And Jesus says, you are. You're going to do this. As my disciples, as those of you who've walked into the relationship with me, that's what you're here for. And he says, I'm going to be with you. That's what he means in that John 17 prayer, that he's like, listen, just as the Father and I are one, you and I are one. And so when all of my ones come together, we go on that one mission and things start to happen. Paul knew this so well. The Apostle Paul, who had an incredible transformation in his own life. Paul, who killed Christians and wanted nothing to do with them, who had an incredible experience with Jesus on the road to Damascus, and his life was forever changed. He took a 180, and not only did he end up planting most of the churches along the Mediterranean, but he also wrote most of the New Testament. He understood this so well. And about 20 years after the resurrection of Jesus, he's out there planting churches, and he's in the town of Ephesus, and he's writing to the church at Corinth. The church at Corinth was a church, like I said, that he planted probably about 20 years after the resurrection. And this was about 5 years later that he wrote a letter to the church at Corinth, reminding them of the power that they have because of what they've been called to do when they walk into this relationship with Jesus, and that they've been put into a very specific place for a very specific reason. See, the interesting thing about the city of Corinth was that the city of Corinth was an epicenter, all right? It was a city of commerce. It was a city where people went to make their dreams come true. It was a city where people went to make money. It was a city where people went to be successful. Nobody was from Corinth. Everybody was coming to Corinth to make a name for themselves. Everybody wanted to be there. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? So anyway, Church of Corinth is there. It is people are coming there, and Paul is writing to the Church of Corinth and saying, remember where God has placed you. Remember the power that you guys have as believers when you come together to be able to change lives. And these verses in 1 Corinthians, I had read before, and I had gone through before, but this week, they shook me to the core. And if we actually take to heart what Jesus Christ is saying, what Paul is saying about the church of Jesus Christ, this will literally not only change our lives, it should change our schedules, it should change the way that we look at church, it should change the way that we interact with one another. And here's what he says in 1 Corinthians 12:12. It says, the human body has many parts, but the many parts make up one whole body. So it is with the body of Christ. So remember, he wrote this. He loved this. He wrote the same thing to the church at Ephesus. He wanted people to remember, listen, don't forget something. You are the body of Christ. And he says, remember, you're literally making up the body of Christ, and every one of you makes it up. He continues in verse 13. He says, some of us are Jews, some are Gentiles, some are slaves, some are free. But we all have been baptized into one body by one Spirit, and said we all share the same Spirit. There it is again. There's that oneness. We've all gotten baptized by the same Jesus. We all know who Jesus Christ is. We've all been baptized by that one Spirit, right? We've been given the Spirit. The same Spirit that was in Jesus has been given to us. But this is the other thing I love about this particular. He says, we're all, I don't care what background you're from. I don't care where like he says, I don't care where you're from. I don't care where you work. I don't care who raised you. I don't care who your daddy was. I don't care what comes. At the end of the day, we are all in this together when we profess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And then he continues on. He says, but our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where he wants it. How strange a body would be if it only had one part. Yes, that's true, Paul. Yes, there are many parts, but only one body. The eye can never say to the hand, I don't need you. And the head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. Go back to that verse 18 where it says, but our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part where he wants it. Think about that for a second. We are all parts of God's body. That's what he's trying to get us to understand. You are part of this body, right? You are literally coming together to create the body of Christ, okay? And you, God has put each part just where he wants it. Do you ever think about that for a second, that God has put you where you want to? You're sitting outside there going, I don't know where God wants me. He wants you here. You're here for a reason. He's put you exactly where he wants you. It's right there. Stop questioning it. Second, there are many parts as a member of Christ's body, right? There are many parts. That means we all have different talents. We all have different gifts. We all have different things in order to create this body that are needed. And here's the other thing I love about this verse where he says, the eye can never say to the hand, I don't need you. And the head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. Guess what? That means I can never tell you that you're not needed. And nobody can tell you that you're not needed. And that also means that you can't tell yourself that you're not needed. He says this in verse 27, all of you together are Christ's body, and each of you is a part of it. Apostle Paul is saying, y'all remember Jesus, right? Jesus was God in the flesh. Now it's your turn. Jesus was somebody who healed. Jesus was somebody who reconciled families. Jesus was somebody who led. Jesus was somebody who brought people, who made sure that people got on the right track, that loved people, that showed people the way. And he says, you know what? That's you. When the body of Christ comes together, lives are changed, families are healed. People are come together because they know that something is different when the body of Christ works together. He says, now it's your turn. Jesus said, when you come together, you create the body. With Christ as the head, all of us are the body to be able to make the right. And that's why, over the past 11 years, we've seen some incredible stories, just like Todd's, of people who come in here who were far from God. And whatever happened, everybody came together and lives were changed. So my question to you is this. If you, like I said, are keeping with the sports analogy, if you're on the bench, what's keeping you from joining the team? Now listen, I understand that. I speak to a lot of you, and I'm going through some of the excuses right now that I've heard people tell me, and I don't want to make light of these. These are very real excuses. These are reasons why you have not jumped in yet. And I want to make sure that you all know that we are aware of them, right? So number one, I'm too busy. Okay? I think all of us can have said that at one point or another. All right? I have kids. Supposedly, this is going to be true for me any day now. We have an overdue child, so if I leave during the message at some point, you'll know why. I have dogs, okay? I have dogs with kids. I travel a lot. I'm not sure I can keep the commitment. I have a lot of family obligations on the weekend. You have so many people already. I'm engaged, and this usually follows. I'm getting married. I'm just getting settled here. Or I may move soon. How can I commit? I haven't heard where God wants me. Yes, you did. He wants you here. Next. How can I do anything? And this one was mine. God can't use me. When I walked into this relationship with Jesus Christ when I was 23 years old, I thought to myself, there's no way God can use me. I did things in my life that I was not proud of. And I never thought God could use me. But I'm here to tell you, if you're here today, yes, he can. And not only that, he wants to. And not only that, he brought you here for a reason. If you're listening to this, he wants to use you. Even if you haven't walked into this relationship with Jesus Christ yet and you're not really sure how you feel about that, he wants to use you too. This is the other one I get. What you're asking can't possibly make a difference. It's too small to change anything. What is really setting up a chair going to do? What is really greeting anybody going to do? What is really making coffee going to do? I've heard that time and time again. Well, sometimes you never know what God's going to do by using something what you think is seemingly small. I had somebody come up to me last week, and I apologize if you're here today, but you know what you did. You came up to me for the very first time I'd ever met you, and you said, hey, can I preach next week? I said, you are? I said, well, let's talk about baby steps first. What's your name? Where are you from? what do you want to say? Some people think to yourself, and listen, I understand the struggle, right? Some people think what's being asked of you might be beneath you, but here's the truth of the matter. Sometimes God's going to see how we can do with the small before he trusts us with something bigger. That's the story of David. In the Old Testament, there's a story of a guy named David. And David's story is recounted in 1 Samuel. And at the age of 17, David gets anointed the next king of Israel. In fact, he has surpassed over his 7 older brothers. And at age 17, he gets told that he's going to be the next king of Israel. And something kind of trivial happens next in the life of David. He doesn't go directly to the palace and being carried by chariots or anything. He actually goes back to being a shepherd. And then his dad, Jesse, asks him to do something even more trivial. Remind you that your son just got anointed to be the next king of Israel, and this is what he asks him to do. This is in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 17. He says, "One day Jesse said to David, 'Take this basket of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread and carry them quickly to your brothers, and give these 10 cuts of cheese to their captain. See how your brothers are getting along and bring back the report on how they're doing.'" You know what he just asked the next king of Israel to do? Go take your brothers some sandwiches. And David wasn't like, hey, Dad, yo, Pop, I'm supposed to be the next king. I can't be making sandwiches. But that's not how he responds. Verse 20. So David left the sheep with another shepherd, set out early the next morning with the gifts as Jesse had directed him. He arrived at the camp just as the Israelite army was leaving for the battlefield with shouts and battle cries. Soon the Israelite and Philistine forces stood facing each other, army against army. David left his things with the keeper of supplies and hurried out to the ranks to greet his brothers. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, came out from the Philistine ranks, and then David heard him shout his usual taunt to the army of Israel. Even if you've never been into a church before, even if you've never cracked open your scriptures at all, I'm sure at one point or another you've heard of the story of David and Goliath. Because David was willing to do something so minuscule that he thought, taking his brother's sandwiches, God brought him into one of his biggest purposes that changed a people. It changed a nation. You know what other king came to serve and not be served? Jesus. In Matthew 20, Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers in this world lord it over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you, it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must first be your servant. And whoever wants to be first among you must first become your slave. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom of many." He's saying, you want to be great? Serve. You want to make an impact? Serve. You want to change lives? Serve. And listen, I know you're appreciative of this. I know you are in your own life. You're appreciative of the bagels and the coffee and of the groups and of the connection events and those of you who bring your kids to Grace Kids. I know you're appreciative of this. But at a point, there's a time when those of us who have been benefiting from it, it's time for us to participate in it. One of my mentors used to say, you know what, Anthony, the local church is really one of the most important investments that you can make about, alongside raising your kids and raising your grandkids, because the message of Jesus Christ has literally the power to change a person's life, has literally the power to change a person's outlook, to change their future, to change a workplace, to change a school, to change a nation, to change a community. And that's why That's why we believe that this message of Jesus Christ is so important, to be able to take it to people. And there is no one mission that we can't be aligned with that's a better or greater mission. This is a message that's been here before you got here, and it will be here long after you're gone. But here's the truth. We don't want you to miss this. We don't want you to miss the opportunity to change somebody's life for the better. I talk to people all the time who come up to me and they say, you know what, thank you for doing this, and I've made some great friends. I've literally, my life has changed as a result of this. It's not me. It's not Pastor Chris. It's not our staff. It's you being the body of Christ. It's God working through you to change people's lives. And we're not just taking care of kids in Grace Kids. No, I'm not just taking care of kids. I'm creating an environment where children can experience, learn about, respond to, and grow in the truth and love of Jesus Christ. I'm not just a greeter. I'm not just greeting people. I'm creating an experience for our guests as we make them feel at home. I'm not just playing an instrument. I'm creating an awesome worship environment to reflect how we value God. I'm not just leading a dinner group. I'm creating an environment where people have the opportunity to pursue healthy relationships and grow. And I'm not just handing out granola bars. I'm impacting the community to smile as they see God moving. And this is true over and over and over again. When the body of Christ becomes so aligned on that same mission, on that same goal, and they're all behind one thing, crazy and amazing things can happen. One of the reasons why we have this thing called Team Link that's coming up is because we know you have genuine excuses. We know that you have genuine things that hold you back from jumping in. And we want to level the playing field. We want you to be able to go into this environment and see every single team that Hoboken Grace has to offer, that we have prayed about, that we have thought about, and we believe that each and every team, each and every role, each and every person that needs to be filled in those roles are what God is saying, this is going to help people find their way back to me. And we want to make it as easy as possible for you. You can go to your app right now. As soon as you open up that app, you'll see something that's called Team Link, and you can register right there. For those of you who have kids, you'll see that we have childcare available. That's why it's so important. Husband care is an additional fee, but everything else is free. This isn't the church is falling apart. We need people. We don't do that, all right? God has provided. He's going to continue to provide. We don't want you to miss this. We don't want you to miss this opportunity to be God's hands and feet and change a person's life. That story's my story. When I was 23 years old, I didn't know who God was in my life. I didn't think he wanted anything to do with me. And I walked into a local church, and people made me feel welcome, and people made me feel valued. And for the first time, I heard the message of grace and forgiveness. And my life has been changed ever since. Because of people who have said yes to being God's hands and feet and being him in the flesh. My life is forever changed. And maybe that's your story. Or maybe that's not your story yet. And you're here and you're believing for the first time that maybe I can make a difference. Maybe God does want me. Maybe God does need me. Maybe God can use me. And I'm here to tell you that he can. So my prayer is that you'll join us for Team Link, that you'll sign up on your connection card, whatever it is, to say, you know what? I don't want to be on the periphery anymore. I don't want to be on the bench. Put me in. Because I can't wait to see what's going to happen over the next 11 years. How this community, how this workplace, how my school, how my job, how my nation, how my country can change because of the life-saving message of Jesus Christ. then I'm going to give you a time to respond. As I invite the band back up here, I want to create some time for you to go to him. Some of you have very real objections to jumping in. And like I said, I don't want to make light of that. Some of you have been hurt. Some of you have been hurt at other churches. Some of you may have even been hurt here at some point. But we want you to know that our mission here is to bring people back to God. And we want to do that with you. That's why we want you to come to Team Lincoln. We want you to ask those questions. I have an hour a week. What can I do? Or I can't even go out. What can I do? Ask those questions. And ask him right now. God, what do you want me to do? Where do you need me? Help allay my fears. Help me to confront that challenge, that difficulty that's keeping me from doing this. Help me to confront my pain. Help me to confront my anger. Help me to confront whatever it is that's keeping me from doing that. Bring it to God and see what he can do with it. And maybe you want to actually remember what he's done for us. Around the room, there's some tables with bread and a cup. And one of the things that the reason why we serve is because Jesus Christ did the ultimate service, which is to give of himself for us. And when we go and take the bread and take the cup, we remember that incredible sacrifice that Jesus Christ did so that we can be reconciled to him. So I'm going to start us off in prayer, and then I'll say, Father, we pray. And then you, right where you are, quietly with him, just bring this to him and say, God, where do you need me? God, I'm nervous. God, I'm scared. God, I don't want to get hurt. Help me. And see what he says. Will you pray with me? Father, my prayer is that this message will change the way we look at what it means to serve someone. That it's not just about doing nice things. It's not just about doing quote-unquote good things, but it's about changing lives. When the people of God say yes to being the people of God, more people become your people. Father, my prayer is for those who are here today who may have had a bad experience. May be nervous, may honestly be telling you, I can't add anything else, whatever it is. My prayer is for them. My prayer is also for those who are here today who may not know you yet, who may not trust you, who may not think you are for them. That incredible truth that came to me when I was 23, and that incredible truth that came to my friend those years ago will reign true in their life to say, know what? I came for you too. You want to join me? Wherever we are, Father, we pray. Thank you, Father. Thank you for all that you've done. And we can't wait to see what you're going to do. It's because of Jesus. And it's in his name we pray.